Breaking news. Chinese President Xi Jinping bluntly told President Joe Biden during their recent summit in San Francisco that Beijing will reunify Taiwan with mainland China, but that the timing has not yet been decided. According to three current and former U.S. officials, I'm going to leave the link in the video description box for NBC News. Let's take a quick look at the article from Washington Post. I'll do a screen share with you. You're watching ESN, IC News. Congratulations, that's a wise decision because your time is very important. So we will give you a rapid fire of the news that you can use. Let's jump in over to the article from the Washington Post real quick. Xi offers promises and threats as he calls China's unification with Taiwan inevitable. We're going to look at this real quick. China seeks the peaceful unification of Taiwan, but will not rule out the threat of military action, President Xi Jinping said Wednesday, as he predicted China's rise would one day lead to the annexation of the self-ruling U.S. ally, Taiwan. In one of his most significant addresses on Taiwan since taking power, Xi reiterated an appeal to the 23 million citizens of Taiwan, saying, hey, if you submit to Chinese rule, you'll enjoy lasting peace, and you'll have your own system of governance under a one country, two systems model, much like Hong Kong, after the former British colony was returned to China more than 2 decades ago. Yeah, we saw how well that worked out a few years ago. Different systems are not an obstacle to unification, and even less are they an excuse for separation, Xi said. The private property, religious beliefs, and legitimate rights and interests of the Taiwanese compatriots will be fully assured. He loves you, really. So how do you feel about that? And do you think that it's going to get worse before it gets better? Or do you think it's just more talk, more rhetoric? Time will tell. Let's jump over to the next article real quick. This is CNN. Are China's actions in the South Sea a harbinger of things to come for Taiwan? And then we're going to look at how many times they've passed the gray zone or gotten close to the gray zone with Taiwan. Substantially more this year than previous years. We're also going to look at what's going on over in the Philippines. So CNN, are China's actions in the South Sea a harbinger of things to come for Taiwan? 120 miles off the coast of Palawan in the Philippines sits the Sierra Madre, a rusting World War II-era landing vessel that hosts a small contingent of Philippine Marines and serves as the infrastructural backbone of an atoll called the Second Thomas Shoal. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration of The Hague declared that the shoal belonged to the Philippines and that China had no legal basis to claim historic rights to the bulk of the South China Sea. Beijing subsequently moved aggressively to underscore its public rejection of the court's ruling, ramping up construction on numerous man-made islands with military facilities to buttress its assertion of control over almost all the South China Sea. China's key tool in all of this has been its huge Coast Guard, the largest such force on the planet. China's Coast Guard ships have rammed, attacked with water cannons, or otherwise forcefully confronted Philippine vessels, seeking to resupply or repair the Sierra Madre, and so keep it from breaking up in heavy weather and rough seas, a development that would severely undermine Manila's continuing hold on the Second Thomas Shoal. This desperate Filipino race against time has attracted the keen attention of the United States. Space Force. Okay, it doesn't say Space Force. I like to say that. I'm sorry. Whose increasingly close ties to Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippines' new pro-American leader, have included plans for an expansion of American access to military bases on the Philippine mainland. As President Biden declared on the 26th of October, the U.S. defense commitment to the Philippines is ironclad. Any attack on Filipino aircraft, vessels, or armed forces would automatically trigger Washington's Mutual Defense Treaty with Manila. However, Chinese behavior continues, and it contains a deeper threat, according to this article from CNN. As the Philippine case illustrates, Beijing has long used its massive Coast Guard as a force to project power, not only in the South Sea, but also in other places around the world, ignoring international norms, creating facts on the ground or the sea, pushing the envelope, also while daring others to push the envelope back. Some analysts believe that China could soon start to deploy the Coast Guard to ratchet up pressure on and around Taiwan, the democratic island that Beijing has vowed to bring under its control by persuasion, if possible. You know, they'll ask nicely at first. And also, they do go to claim that if force is necessary, that is something that they haven't taken off the table. This is also true with the forthcoming January 13th presidential and legislative elections in Taiwan. If the island's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, which views Taiwan as a de facto sovereign nation and not part of China, should for the third consecutive time win the island's presidential poll, which it does enjoy a small lead in public opinion surveys, the odds of a tough Chinese response will increase substantially. Also, if the more friendly to China KMT pulls out an upset and prevails on the 13th of January, it is highly unlikely to meet Chinese expectations for rapid movement towards eventual unification with Taiwan, also heightening the chances for further Chinese muscle flexing. This would be extraordinarily difficult for Taiwan, as well as the U.S. Navy, with this pressure, especially since the Coast Guard now has the backing of the Chinese law, allowing it to use lethal force in the waters China claims. Wow. Now, if we go back to all the way September, the New York Times, China sends record number of military planes near Taiwan. Let's read it from Don. Here we go. But I'll also leave the link for the article, the New York Times. The ministry said that since Sunday, it spotted 103 Chinese military aircraft over the sea, a number it called a recent high. Taiwan's defense ministry urged China on Monday to stop destructive unilateral action after reporting a sharp rise in Chinese military activities near the island. This was published the September 19th of this year. China's activities over the past few days have caused serious challenges to security in the strait and regionally, the ministry said in an accompanying statement. So China's got a lot going on right now. They're dealing with the South Sea. They're dealing with the Philippines. They're dealing with Taiwan. They're dealing with the U.S. Seems like there's a lot of cards being played and shuffled around behind closed doors that is being presented through the media and other various platforms like the politicians and global leaders. Time's going to tell. How do you feel about this? What are your predictions for 2024? I want to hear them. I've got some for 2024 that I'm going to leave on Patreon, but maybe I'll share a few with you in the near future. A lot of it has to do with AI and global conflict, as well as delays by the Supreme Court. But they're just predictions, so I will share those with you another day. Hit that bell for all notifications, and thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day, and be the change the world needs to see. You're watching ESN IC News.